Okay, let's get going then. Let's start with some basic stuff before we get into even the presentation about me. Please leave comments. Please comment on YouTube. It will tell you that you will create a channel. You're really not. You're just accepting that you will be able to comment. So please leave comments there or contact me later to give me feedback. We really want to know how well this worked, what could be better, was it good, did it provide value, and so forth. Of course, it's not going to be perfect, but during these times we will want to make this work one way or another. So, with that, welcome to the SWEA first meetup online. So I'm Mathias Magnusson. I'm a consultant and the owner of Evil Ape. I'm founder and leader of the SWEA user group, and you can find me on my blog and on my Twitter handle, and I'm an Oracle Ace. And the ACE program, it has 3 levels, ACE Associate, ACE, and ACE Director. I'm in the middle one there. If you're interested in this program, there are information of how you get in contact with it, or you can contact me. And you can nominate yourself or someone you know. And if you want help going towards this, we will help you. And this is a magazine I think everyone should read. It's fantastic, it's free, and it's produced by the user groups in Europe. It has a lot of interesting articles written by some of the best, and it's also not tied to Oracle, so it's not marketing material, it's pure user group content driven. I've been featured, but so has Stephen Feuerstein and a lot of other really good people. So it's online, and you download it, get the PDF, or subscribe to it, or any which way. Just look it up, and you'll find it. It's good reading. Part of this is in Swedish, I see. Anyway, we want feedback, so comment here, comment on Meetup, on LinkedIn, find me on Facebook, or send an email to me. Anyway works. And you can, of course, go for my Twitter handle, Mathias Mag, and you'll find me there too. So what we'll be looking at today, we'll be looking at accessing a web resource. First, we're going to use it with HTTP. We're going to go for HTTPS after that. This is all about security from and to the database. It's access control list, and it is setting up a trust store, a wallet in Oracle speak. So what are we talking about when we're talking about accessing things on the web? We're talking about things like SOAP services, REST services, getting the HTML of a web page, parse it, and do some work with it. Could be a JSON file, could be cloud-based authentication, other cloud services, or it could be a database link. If you want from your database to be accessing a database in another data center, or you want to go to a cloud service or something like that, then I presume you will be needing some of this stuff there too. I haven't done all of that myself yet, but most of it. The test case I'm going to use is going to be a basic fetch of some HTML. I'm going to use the package UTL HTTP request. The reason is that it is it's very easy to do it that way, and it shows how this works without getting into the nitty-gritty of hooking up web services or some such. That is more fitting for another demo. So let's start with the demo. I'm gonna just briefly show the problem we get in the database when we first try to access a resource somewhere else that's not the database. So let's take a look at it. So here we then have an example. We're gonna grab the web page on example.com. We're gonna use HTTP to get it, and we use this package I said that just gets us the HTML if everything works. Problem is that when we write this up and we try it the first time, this is what happens. We get a whole stack of things that doesn't go well, but the key thing is this very one. It says that the network access was denied by access control list, ACL. So there we have it. We need to set up ACL to allow the database to call it. This was the database saying, no, you cannot do that. You're not allowed to. And it said that to a normal end user. DBA will then have to allow it. And then we have the result here. This is the message we saw, right? This ACL is in the database, like I said. It protects the ACL protects unwanted accesses to and from the database. And Oracle's definition of this is that the ACL is empty when you start. It doesn't allow anything. Talking about a pure new install, like on-premise or on your own laptop or something like that. Managed services is a whole different thing, and we can talk about some other time. So let's talk about setting it up. It is the command structure to set it up is easier since 12c. It used to be a bit more involved, a bit more complicated to set up and understand in 11. We're not looking at that because 11 is on the verge of being desupported. It serves no purpose to look at that. We'll stay with that. I see the time runs fast here, so we're probably going to finish it way earlier than I thought, but we'll see. So, to allow the access, there is a provided package, DBMS Network ACL Admin. It allows you to manage ACL lists. In this case, we're going to use the function append host ACE. It is named ACE because it's not an actual list. It is an entry in a list that you're manipulating with it. So it sets the access to a host such that you can access a port or a range of ports for a certain type of access. And with that, it's time to take a look at the second demo. It is about solving this ACL issue to allow us to do the HTTP call that we want to do to example.com. So let's move over to another tab here. What am I? Let's see. I've closed down one of my nice little tabs here, looks like. Here we have it. So we have the package I talked about. It has some stuff that's a little bit hard to understand with the ACE type below, but we don't really have to mess too much with it. We need to name a host that we want to access. We want to know what port we want to do. In this case, it's just pure 80. It's normal web stuff. And then we need to say that it's HTTP access we're talking about. The user in the database that's gonna be able to access this this host will be test user. It's the user I'm using for the demo. And the last one just needs to be that way. You don't really have to worry too much about it. For this kind of stuff, you don't need to mess with it. So with that, we run this. I need to select copy user. We'll run with that. So that has been executed now. So now we've added an enter of this to it. And we have the same exact SQL as we used before. Now when we run it, it works. We get HTML back. It's a lot of HTML actually. And that is it. Example.com is set up by the people managing internet essentially, and it shows an example, or the domain is used for a bunch of different examples that you can use to build stuff and build demos or what have you. So there we got it back. Now our code could parse this, figure something out, put out the text on an Apex page or whatever we want to use this for. So now with this, so it works. That's fantastic. We just had to set one privilege set for the ACL, one enter, and it works. We can now got a message there. We'll get back to that. We can now show the web page. We can pull the web page and we can build a process flow. We can build code around this, right? So we can pull down what we need to do and see it in code, or we could in batch download information, store away a bunch of data, or just drop some content onto a page of our own that we pulled from somewhere else. Let's just look at the comments here. Can I show the command again? This is in a couple of blog posts I have written, but I can show the command again, of course. Let's see. I imagine that we're looking for this command. Is that a command? Yeah, very good. So that answered that question. Now we're heading back here. And let's stop here and talk a little bit about this. There are, if you go to my blog, I showed the URL before, and you can find it again. We can look at it later. In fact, why don't I put it up when I talk about it? Here, oradbdev, mathiasmagnusson.com. It's my blog. I have written essentially 2 blog posts about this. There will be 2 more coming. That is the follow-up to what we do here. And what we do here today is essentially what I cover in those 2, so they are a good match. And there you have all the different commands and stuff if you want to look at it, or just send me a message if you want to have the demo scripts here. It's not much of scripts because it's very little code, but still, you can just ask me for it and I'll send it to you. Now with that, we're back here. So yeah, we could build a flow where we pull this off, or we show it on a web page, or start processing it one way or another. And what is the bad news? Well, the bad news is HTTPS. The world has all but abandoned HTTP. In fact, HTTP is so rare these days that I had a big problem being able to find a website that allowed me to run HTTP to it. Essentially, the only thing you can find are some blogs that doesn't redirect you, and most of them, not all of them, but most of them are doing it by mistake. They have not set up the redirect because they're running HTTPS also. Mine is that way. I don't know what happened. It used to redirect and it doesn't anymore, so I need to look at that when I get a few minutes over. And I noticed that because I was playing with this stuff. So now everything on the net is HTTPS. So to be able to access things the way I just showed, we need to be able to access HTTPS pages, or resources, or services, or whatever, right? So if we enter http oracle.com in a web browser, it looks like you got there, but you really didn't. If you look closely, you have been redirected over to https oracle.com. It basically happens with everything. If you look up on top, you see that little lock show up, even though when you go to HTTP, that is redirecting. And I think it's a good thing, but it makes it hard to demo. And we have even more bad news. We cannot handle it with the ACL. The reason we cannot handle the ACL is not that Oracle hasn't implemented yet. They couldn't because it goes the other way. It is not a matter of not being allowed to call out to it. It is when you call out to it, you get certificates back that shows that this site can be trusted, and you can send things to it that can be encrypted, and no one in the middle can steal or modify your data. This is why HTTPS is good, and this is why the world has pretty much abandoned HTTP. Pretty much the same reason we abandoned standard FTP or standard telnet. So the need here is reversed. ACL is the database denying access. HTTPS is that we need to declare what we can trust that is coming to us from out there. This is done with a trust store. And trust store is not a database concept. It is a general concept. You encounter it with Java, you encounter it with web browsers, you encounter it with just about everything. It's just a generic name. It's a collection of certificates. The ones we add to it are the ones we have decided that we want to trust. All certificates in the chain, we get a chain from root and possibly an intermediary certificate, and then we get the website certificate, and there could be more than 3. There could be a whole chain there. We need to have all but the website's own in the store, because all of the ones below has been used to make out the certificate that the website uses. So it needs that chain all the way down to the root certificate, because if you can't have that chain, you don't know that someone hasn't been in and messing around with them. And in a perfect world, the way I understand it, you should take the root certificate from your OS. It has a place, has this file in a place. I will eventually blog about this, I think. So you have all of those on your box already. Oracle doesn't use them, but they're sitting there. So you could ignore the root certificate you get from a web page, and you could go find it on your box and use that instead, so that no one is trying to fool you with a fake root certificate. It's extremely hard to fake all this stuff, but in theory someone could do it. In this presentation I'm using what the site sends me, and if you read about this from other people that blogs about this feature in Oracle, from Tim Hall to Christian Berg to anyone, right, you will find that they all do that. I've yet to see an Oracle blog talking about using the operating system version of the root certificate. But I think in theory you should. I think that's what secured people says. So, a wallet. That is Oracle speak. Oracle has wallets. They can be used for a whole bunch of different secure things to control. But in our case, it's going to be trusted certificates, what we test and look at here today. They're created and manipulated or maintained with the Aura PKI program. That program comes delivered when you install, or it installs together with the Oracle database binaries. Let's see, no more comments, so we'll go to this and look at the process. So the process to get HTTPS working, it looks a bit more convoluted, but it really isn't that hard when you get your head around it. So you need to set up an ACL like we did before, it's just a different port. You create a wallet with or PKI, and you use the wallet create function. You download the certificates. I do it with a script, and we'll look at that. You can stop and talk about that a little bit. If you look out on the net, you'll find just about everyone talks about how you can do it in Chrome, how you can do it in Internet Explorer, and so forth. I don't like that because I like to be able to script things, so I want it to be command line. But another reason I really like that is all the vendors of web browsers cannot for the life of them figure out where they want this to be in the GUI. Every single release moves it around to some other place, so when you read instructions, they're never correct if they're like a year old, and you have to figure out a new place to find it in, and sometimes you find it and then you want to store it, and no, it doesn't store it as a PEM file anymore, .pem, it stores as a .cer, and now you need to go out on the net and figure out how do you convert between these formats, and yada yada yada. It doesn't sit well with me that a process that should be able to just deploy out suddenly breaks because vendors move things around. That doesn't work well. So I want a process that always works. Unfortunately, OpenSSL has a very stable implementation for getting it. It has been the same since they started this. They haven't changed it, and it's of course very scriptable. So from that you get a whole set of information. We're going to take a look at that later. We take each certificate of the ones we need, which are everyone but the website's own, and put them in each in its own file. And for each certificate that we want to trust, we're going to use our PKI program again, and we're going to use a wallet add function for it to add it as a trusted certificate. And then of course you need to validate that your access is actually working. So that is the process, and that is what we're going to look at. So let's take a look at it. See. There we have it. And that down. So I'm going to do this in not the same exact order as I said the process was, but it's just to make it a little bit easier for us here. So what we're gonna do here is that we're gonna run OpenSSL with the S client, which is implementing a client connection to a site. We connect to example.com on port 443, which is a standard port for HTTPS. And we're gonna ask it to show us all the certificates for that server. In the beginning I echo quit here, and it's just to make the command finish afterwards. Otherwise it sits there and waits for another command for me, like a prompt, like a shell function. So let's run through that, and here we got a whole bunch of data back from it. I'm going to scroll up to the top, and let's take a little bit look at what we got here. No, not there. Where are we? Here we have it. Here's a start. That's where we ran the command. So first we get, well, connected, just as we're connected, and then we get three things here, and these are the three certificates that we're gonna see and look at. Here in the name it says root, so that is the root certificate. We have an intermediate certificate that was given out by DigiCert. Well, DigiCert also created their own global root certificate. And then we have the bottom one is for example.org, right? All of this verifies okay. I don't really know what they do when they verify it, but they check that it's okay, that it checks out. I guess they check submit or whatever. And then we get back to, we get the certificate chain. So the first one here is certificate 0, depth 0 here. Certificate 0 here is example.org. So that's the one we're not gonna be using, because that's the website's own, and you should not have that in your trust store. It serves no purpose. But then we get the intermediate certificate, and it starts and ends, or starts with begin certificate and ends with end certificate. That's the part you want to grab and put in a file. So we're gonna take that, and we're going to put it in a file. Let's call it cert1. Just drop it in and save. Nothing more. And now I need to scroll up, and the root certificate is what we grab next. And almost. So now we've saved those, and I will eventually blog about how to automate all of that too, but it's not for this presentation, partly because I haven't really had the time to document it for myself. Well, I know how to do it, but it needs to be go down on paper. So now we have that done. We're gonna move over to the database area and take a look at creating the the wallet with these certificates in it. So don't have to pay attention to this. This is on the Oracle in Docker. I could talk about that some other time, but this is just to move on to the right area to be able to run this stuff. So it doesn't matter too much. Now we're there, and now we can take a look at the things we wanted to talk about, or I wanted to talk about. So here we have it, or a PKI wallet, and we're going to create a wallet. We're going to call it Sveog Wallet. Auto login. Let's come back to that and start with the password. I set a password, and it has some demands on what it needs to be and so forth. So that's why it's that length and has a digit in it and all of that stuff. So you need to enter that when you will modify your wallet so that it's secured from manipulation, well, to some extent. Now back to auto login. Auto login says that if you use this, like from the database or some such in a select statement, you can use it without logging in to the wallet. It makes it easier to use, and you don't have to spread out your password everywhere and so forth. So when you do that, when you allow the wallet to be used that way, it results in being able to be used easily while still requiring password to change it. I think that's the perfect way to do it. So that's what we do here. So now when we run it, it's gonna create it. And let's just take a look at what a wallet is. Briefly look at it. Well, I'm not going to dig into it because I'm not the specialist on that. It's a set of files. So a wallet is a directory. And we can even take a look at the sizes. Very, very small files. Exactly what goes where and so forth, I don't know, and I'm pretty sure I can't manipulate them directly, so it doesn't really matter. I should point out that root here is because I'm in a Docker container that runs it that way. Normally you would see Oracle there, right? So now we're gonna add our certificates to it. So let's start with the first one, and let's put that here and let's talk a little bit about it. So now last time we had a Oracle PKI wallet create to create the wallet. Now we're gonna have wallet add. So we're gonna add to this wallet. We say what the wallet is. The name here could of course be a path to somewhere else. I'm just putting a file in the directory I'm standing. Trusted search says that I want to set up a certificate I want to be able to trust. I give the password so that it allows me to manipulate this this wallet. I of course also have to have write access to the file place where the file is. And I then say which certificate, in which file is my certificate stored. So we do that, and just to make it easier, I thought easy, we'll grab the other piece of text and put in. So that's the second certificate we saved before. So now with that, we have created a wallet, and we have added the two certificates that are needed for the example.com access via HTTPS. With that, we can jump back over to SQL Developer and start using what we just set up. So here we have it, and this is the stuff we haven't done yet. We also need an ACL to allow us to call out to this site, right? And it's still arcsample.com, but it's a different port, so we need to set it up to allow us to call out on a different port. For 4.3 in this example, the rest is the same. It's still HTTPS as the privilege list. It's not HTTPS because that's just a security thing. It's not a difference really. Same user and same everything. So now if we run that, it has completed, and if we run this, it works. I got it back, and now let's take a look at it. The select statement is the same as before. What I have added is the reference to where the wallet is stored. So it's file colon and then the search path on the database server. With that, I can get data back from an HTTPS website or service or whatever out on the net. So that works fine, and we have not really looked at how this works if I don't. Well, let's actually remove all of this, right? So that we just do a call to it, and we don't have a wallet set up. How does the error look then? This is what we get, and this is what you want to look at. Certificate validation failure. That means you're not trusting the certificate we got back. So we're not going to allow you to process it because it could be bad stuff. So that's that one. Let's go here, and I'm going to talk, before I talk about this slide, I'm going to talk about another thing, I think. I'm going to mention one thing briefly, one thing I noticed when I was playing with this. And it's a little bit back to this redirection we looked at before. Like, I think that when I go to Oracle's website, I go to oracle.com. When you start looking at things, it turns out that that's not really where I'm going. I'm going to www.oracle.com. And it may seem to be a small thing, really. But it isn't when you get into the details, like setting this stuff up, because ACL does not understand that those are the same thing. They take a host to be a specific host. Yes, you could do say star dot or whatever, but if you haven't done that, the host is taking literally what it is. It doesn't say, well, if it's the domain, we trust all subdomains or something like that. There's none of that. And when you when you put in oracle.com in the web browser, and what you get back looks like oracle.com in, I think, every web browser I know of. It hides www since, I don't know, 10 years back or something. So it looks correct until you start clicking the URL and you start filling with stuff, or you use curl to see what really happens when you make a call and so forth. So not much, just one thing to be aware of. Let's see. I'll take a look at that later, I guess. So, to review what we have looked at here today, is we have set up ACL for HTTP, gotten that working, and then we moved on to creating a wallet to set up a trust store. We added trusted certificates to it. We set up the ACL for HTTPS, and we have validated both the HTTP and the HTTPS access. what are the next steps here then? Well, you can use this for a lot of different things. You can use it for REST calls. You could use it for SOAP, but really, who wants to do SOAP these days? You could set the wallet we created. You could set that to be the default wallet for the database, and if you do that, you will not be able to specify it when you make a call to it. You can configure Apex to use the wallet, and you can hook up Apex to use Azure AD, Active Directory, for authentication. Thereby, if you put Apex in Oracle Cloud and you use Azure, which is Microsoft Cloud, you have built yourself a multi-cloud solution. And with that, I think we just have questions back, and I'm going to take a little bit look at questions that come in here to see. Ilmar stating that it's not correct because websites will not send root certificates. Well, some of them do, some of them don't. As I said, you should put it from your OS, but some sends it, a lot of them sends it. I'm pretty sure even Oracle sends it actually. But he's correct. You should take it from the OS, like I said. But virtually no blog about this talks about this if you stay in the Oracle sphere. But just because we're talking about it, let's take a look. Oops, need to be there. So see, even the mighty Oracle sends the global route out from the web server. They shouldn't, I know, and we read about it, states that they shouldn't. So they send the intermediary, and they have their own certificate for alloracle.com. But yes, it's better not to trust it, and better to take the one that every operating system, I believe, is shipped with and has it. So let's see. Ilmar has a few more comments on this, and I think I understand what he's saying. He's saying that the S and I, the chain that we see here, should indicate that it's self-signed, and there should be another root certificate that one needs. I need to talk to Ilmar and understand what he thinks is going on here, and how we should understand that. What I know is that when I've done this and I've just taken what gets back from websites, it's enough to get this to work. So what else we should need to prove it, I'm not sure, but I'm going to talk to Ilmar offline and understand this for myself and probably write a blog post or something about it if I understand something that is significant and that for some sites this wouldn't work for. Okay, I think that's all the question comments I have. There is a comment out there if I want to read from Salim. It's pretty technical what it's doing, so I need to read that offline to really understand it. But with that, since we are